The flu started in Camp Funston in Fort Riley, Kansas in the United States. In the morning of March 11, 1918, one soldier found himself ill with fever, sore throat, and headache. The doctor diagnosed that it was a common cold. More than 100 soldiers reported them having same symptoms after lunch. The number increased to more than 500 only after a few days. And eventually, more than 1,000 were infected and 46 of them died. This outbreak did not stop America to join the war. They brought not only their weapons but also the deadly virus to Europe and Britain. Till now, the virus started its journey to conquer the world. From March to July 1918, the virus spread from America to Europe, and possibly Asia. Why is the pandemic known as Spanish flu? Spain was neither the origin of the virus, nor the country had the highest death toll. At the time, the First World War was still raging, and the press in belligerent countries was highly censored. Any information likely to impact on morale or indicate a weakness to the enemy was strictly prohibited. Because Spain was neutral, the Spanish press was not subject to the same level of censorship as the press in the belligerent countries. News of an epidemic appeared in the headlines of Madrid papers in May 1918. This was one reason why its point of origin was assumed to be Spain. The fact that the Spanish king, prime minister and various members of the cabinet fell ill making people believe that the disease had originated in Spain. 100 years later there are still several theories concerning the source of the disease, but no one now considers it to be Spain. The virus seemed to disappear in July 1918. When people thought the flu season had passed, the second wave came in August 1918. It emerged at Sierra Leone, France and the United States. This second wave is highly fatal, and responsible for most of the deaths attributed to the pandemic. On September 3, there was an outbreak of the second wave in Boston. 40 people died from flu after 2 weeks. And the death toll increased to 3,700 after 1 month. The flu spread to Philadelphia in mid-September, where there were 600 sailors infected. But the outbreak did not stop the Liberty Loan Parade that brought 200,000 people together. By October 1, there were 635 new cases in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was one of the hardest-hit U.S. cities. More than 12,000 people died in 6 weeks, with about 47,000 reported cases. By the 6-month mark, about 16,000 had died and there were more than 500,000 cases. Although the parade isn't all to blame, it certainly gave a push to the pandemic. Other factors contributed to the flu spread, including high population and poor working and living conditions. The second wave of the 1918 pandemic was much more deadly than the first. The first wave had resembled typical flu epidemics. Those most at risk were the sick and elderly, while younger, healthier people recovered easily. The case for the second wave was different. It mostly killed young adults. From 1918 to 1919, 99% of pandemic influenza deaths in the U.S. occurred in people under 65, and nearly half of deaths were in young adults from 20 to 40 years old. The third wave is from January to June in 1919. It primarily affected Spain, Serbia, Mexico and Great Britain, resulting in hundreds of thousands of deaths. It was less severe than the second wave but still much more deadly than the initial first wave. The influenza pandemic in 1918 infected 500 million people, which was about a third of the world's population at the time. The death toll is estimated from 17 million to 50 million, and possibly as high as 100 million, making it one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. There were 18 million people died in India during the pandemic. 670,000 people died in US, and 200,000 in UK. The death toll were higher than the deaths from the World War I. In U.S., the average life expectancy was dropped from 51 years old in 1917 to 39 years old in 1918. This was the dark time for the entire world in 1918 and 1919. It shaped the whole world in terms of healthcare system, economy, politics and culture, even to some extent, sped up the termination of the First World War.